Hi, I'm Ash and welcome to this video where we are going to directly compare the Ozone Pocket Rocket V2 and the Ozone Power Pack. These two Parawings are designed to meet different use cases, but the question is what exactly do they do differently and how does that drive your decision on what wing to buy? You can of course just buy the very latest wing and assume it's the best at everything because it's the newest, most recently released wing, and this would be a highly flawed piece of critical thinking. This video is to help you understand what each of these wings is for and why you might consider buying one or the other. I'll talk you through each wing, map out some performance criteria, and hopefully at the end you'll have a good idea as to what product best suits your needs. If you came here for a detailed build breakdown where we talk about batten sizes, materials, stitching, aspect ratios, and other such design technicalities, well, this probably isn't the video for you. With the intro done, where do we start? Well, that would be where we always start, and that is getting onto foil. Throughout the video I will put the Pocket Rocket V2 on the left of the screen and the Power Pack on the right of the screen. Our first category is pumping onto foil, and right away we have some differences between these two Parawings. The wings we are comparing are both 4.3 meter variants, so no difference in size. The Power Pack you may see in two colours, purple and orange. The Pocket Rocket V2 will be orange and grey. The Power Pack is generally a very powerful Parawing. It has quite significant low end and it pulls more downwind and sits deeper in the wind window than the Pocket Rocket V2. The Pocket Rocket V2, from this point onwards I'll just call it the Pocket Rocket, sits further forward in the window and pulls less downwind and more across the wind. Bar pressure on the Power Pack, or what it takes in terms of strength to hang on to it, is higher than on the Pocket Rocket. When it comes to pumping onto foil, the Power Pack needs a more downwind angle to gather momentum, but in general it pulls harder than the Pocket Rocket, so whilst you might get pulled onto foil with no pumping at a certain wind strength, the Pocket Rocket in the same wind would require a bit more pumping. This is where it does get quite interesting, because whilst the Power Pack has more natural low end and just pulls hard, the Pocket Rocket responds much more readily to being pumped and to a small extent has some characteristics reminiscent of pumping an inflatable wing. You can actually get some power out of pumping the wing rather than it being all legs and the wing pumping is more for balance. Overall, I feel like either wing I could get going in similar wind conditions, and as such I'm going to consider it a draw between the two in terms of low end. They both have a good low end, it's just accessed differently. In terms of high end, we have a different situation. The Power Pack is quite a physical wing to fly overpowered. It definitely has a top end and you know when you have hit it as the wing becomes quite hard to hang on to. D-power is limited and in very overpowered gusts the wing can move around quite a bit and be difficult to control. The overall range of the Power Pack is limited by how much power you can hold down. The harness becomes essential just to being able to hang on at the top end in very overpowered conditions. This is due to the Power Pack sitting deeper in the window, which means it naturally generates more power rather than flying forwards in the window into a less powered situation. The Pocket Rocket flies further forward in the wind window and this naturally gives it an extended range over the Power Pack. It can handle more wind and more overpowered conditions without making you, as the rider, feel physically unable to cope as quickly. It also flies more stably in overpowered conditions and in gusts, which keeps the wing under more control. The D-power is also more effective. So all of these things combined give it a greater wind range and a higher top end before it becomes difficult to hang on to. This avoids the situation that I've hit sometimes on Power Packs where it is strong enough to be uncomfortable to stay on your current size but not strong enough when you change down to the next size wing. This is most prevalent on Power Packs in the crossover from 4.3 to 3.6 meters and less prevalent in the smaller sizes. The 4.3 is a very grunty wing and has always been my least favourite of the Power Packs. Whilst we talk about top end, it is also worth talking about speed. The Power Pack is most definitely slower than the Pocket Rocket, which has a very good turn of speed. Moving on to upwind ability, and as already mentioned, the pocket rocket can fly further forwards in the wind window. This directly translates to a significantly better upwind performance. Power packs are certainly very capable of going upwind, but you do tend to need a bit of power in the wing to get them on a good upwind angle. The pocket rocket is not as fussy, and you can get good upwind angles for far less power in the wing. One other advantage the pocket rocket has is that you can go upwind off foil with the pocket rocket. It does allow you to just taxi along very slowly and still go upwind, whereas the power pack will definitely not allow you to do that. So top end, wind range, speed, upwind angle and gust handling are all wins for the pocket rocket. If your main focus is upwind angles or VMG, velocity made good, then the pocket rocket will definitely outperform the power pack. Don't take away from this that a power pack cannot go upwind. It most certainly can, and it does so reasonably well. It just isn't as efficient as the pocket rocket in doing so. So far you may be thinking the pocket rocket is faring pretty well, but here's where things take a turn. Let's talk about steerage. Size for size, the pocket rocket has longer lines than the power pack. It also, when depowered, has much looser rear lines. Longer lines and looser rear lines means that you have potential for a loss of steering controls and a less reactive wing. You can counter this on the pocket rocket with some manual input of rear line tension, but overall the power pack has better steering. It's lower aspect, shorter lines and more rear line tension, so it's ready to turn whether you are powered or depowered. The pocket rocket, especially if you're using a lot of depower, is much less reactive. Now let's look at stowing. Both the power pack and the pocket rocket have the separated A lines, so the ease of grabbing those lines is the same. They are also made of the same very comfortable line material, so no advantage either way there. The power pack does drop out of the sky easier even when well powered up. The pocket rocket takes a little more force and effort to collapse if it is powered. Once you collapse the wings, the power pack is significantly less material, battens and lines. It packs down much smaller and is much easier to go through the packing and stowing process. It is also a lot less likely you'll tangle lines, as there are just less of them swinging about trying to get into trouble. So a big win on stowing for the power pack is just a lot nicer, easier and faster to stow, with less chance of a tangle in that process. Similarly on redeploy, shorter lines and less material to unfold and relaunch means that the unpacking and redeploy process is simpler, faster and more reliable. Power pack again easily wins this category. The last category is to do with the bar and how easy it is to backstall the wing, which can completely kill your pump onto foil. The power pack and pocket rocket now have the same size bar, but they have a different backstall behaviour. The power pack is more susceptible to backstall if you hold too far back on the bar. Compared to other brand wings I've used, I do actually find the backstall on the power pack better than other brands, with less sensitivity to sudden backstalling if you hold too far back. The pocket rocket takes this and improves this further and is a bit less sensitive than the power pack. You have a bit more bar real estate to use before you hit the spot where the backstall will occur when you're trying to pump onto foil. So that is quite welcome and a final win for the pocket rocket. If we distill all this down, then we can probably now apply what we know to different use cases. Use case 1 is someone who wants to ride 30 minutes upwind and then downwind back. For this I would use the pocket rocket. Better upwind, better speed, better VMG to get to the downwind start point. We aren't looking to be constantly stowing and redeploying, so the power pack advantages there are not required. Use case 2 is someone lapping a swell spot, maybe riding 1 or 2 kilometers out and surfing the swell back in. This could require upwind performance, but it also definitely requires a lot of stowing and redeploying. If it is a beach break rather than just swell, we also want that redeploy maximum reliability. For this, I would use the Power Pack. It's not as good upwind as the Pocket Rocket, but it's good enough, and you will benefit greatly from the stow and redeploy advantages it has over the Pocket Rocket. Use case 3 is general freeride, with a bit of swell surfing here and there, but more of a situation where it's mostly riding under power and less swell riding. For this, I would pick the Pocket Rocket. Stow and redeploy aren't really a factor, so upwind, speed, stability and overall wind range are more important factors. Use case 4 is riding small, wind-blown or very unreliable swell. Rides can be very short, swell can disappear suddenly and doesn't provide a huge amount of push. In most cases for this, I would use the Power Pack, purely for its stow and redeploy, as rides can be short and you may be stowing and redeploying frequently. You can use the Pocket Rocket for this as well, especially if it is light wind and you need some enhanced upwind performance. Use case 5 is light wind riding. For this, I would pick the Pocket Rocket. The Power Pack requires some power to make good upwind angles. The Pocket Rocket is far less fussy. Light winds on the Power Pack can result in difficulty making progress upwind, so the advantages of the Pocket Rocket in this area are very welcome, especially in that you can still go upwind off foil on the Pocket Rocket. So if you do end up in a situation where you can't get on foil, you can still go upwind with the Pocket Rocket. Okay, that's all the use cases for this comparison video. I hope it's provided some insight as to how I think about the characteristics of Parawings, and that there is no such thing as a Parawing that is great at everything. There are always compromises, and what you choose to ride should be based upon what conditions you see the most at your local spot. Don't be swayed by the reviews that tell you whatever Parawing that just got released is the latest and best at everything. It's very rarely true, and we should instead be trying to match the Parawing and its characteristics to our most commonly sailed wind and sea states. For me personally, I have one Pocket Rocket V2 in size 4.3 meter, purely to get me upwind in light winds where the Power Pack struggles. My spot has weak swell in light wind conditions, so in my biggest size I want some upwind ability, because I'm really not going to be regularly surfing swell in light winds where I want that stow redeploy advantage of the Power Pack. For all my other Parawings, which are a 3.6, a 3 and a 2.4, I run the Power Pack until something comes along that stows and redeploys just as well, but maybe improves a bit of upwind and overpowered handling. My spot delivers rideable swell for 3.6 meter Parawings and smaller, so stow and redeploy become the main driver in these smaller sizes, and upwind ability becomes much less of a priority. Okay, that's everything for this video. I hope it's been useful. I hope it's given some insight into these two products from Ozone. I actually like both of the Parawings that Ozone produce. I really like the Pocket Rocket. I also really like the Power Pack, but I do keep in mind that I'm picking the wing for specific conditions and for specific riding situations, and that's why my quiver of Parawings is split in the way that it is. And what you should take away from this comparison is that you do the same thing. Look at your quiver, look at the things that you're trying to do, what wind you've got, what sea state you've got, and then pick your Parawings based on that. Don't just try and buy the latest greatest Parawing. Really pick your Parawing to suit the conditions that you're going to ride it in.